Have you ever looked at a mole and thought, I wish there were more of these in the universe? No. Okay, well how about 6.02, 2 times 10 to the 23rd power more of these? What do you get when you multiply the mass of an average Easter mole by a really, really big number? Well, you get a lot of moles. Like enough moles to cover the Earth or to make a new moon or to explode out of a new moon made of moles? We're going to explore what happens when you bring a mole of anything to Earth, to space, and to our solar system. So, first things first. What even is a mole? It's not some kind of depressed ground squirrel. It's the number 6.0221407 times 10 to the 23rd power. Basically, it's a really, really big dozen. We use it in chemistry to count molecules because counting individual molecules is hard. Also, it turns out they're pretty tiny. A mole is just easier. Now, let's count some moles. Let's start with 1 mole of moles. Yeah, it's confusing. The average eastern mole weighs approximately 75 grams. So 1 mole of moles, 6.0221407, 6 times 10 to the 23rd power. Grams of 4.5, 2 times 10 to the 20th. That's over half the mass of our moon. It's a whole lot of mole. But what would happen if you brought that many moles to Earth? Well, first of all, most of them would die. There simply isn't enough food on the planet to sustain that many moles. Any extra weight would also smother and suffocate the rest. Even if they spread out, a mole of moles would still bury Earth under a thick, smelly layer of fur and flesh. Literally miles deep. You would never see another sunrise again. No birds singing. No wind rustling through the trees. No nothing. Just a vast, undulating landscape of writhing moles. And that's just on the outside. Beneath the surface, the pressure would immediately crush most of the moles. Anything alive on Earth, plant or animal, would be utterly crushed beneath the weight of the furry tide. So let's try somewhere else. How about dumping a mole of moles into space? Well, they'd stick together, okay? Thanks to the gravitational attraction between all those eventually they'd form a new planet. One with a radius about 2,200 kilometers bigger than our moon, but weighing roughly half as much. The force of gravity on the surface would be about 1/16 of Earth's gravity. So if you wanted to hop up and down on this mole planet, you could easily leap several meters into the air and enjoy a nice slow floating descent back down to the ground. Inside though, things would be very different. As you move toward the center of the planet, the pressure would increase dramatically. By the time you reach the core, it would be hundreds of mega. That's enough to obliterate most microbes. Plus, the heat would be intense. Bacteria would find it hard to survive in these conditions, which means that, like on Earth, a mole of moles wouldn't decompose. At least not in the usual way. The result would be a thick, dark, hot, smelly ball of fur and fat and bone with a subsurface ocean of liquid flesh churning just below the surface. Under these conditions, gases trapped inside the planet would bubble up through the organic sludge. Every so often, the pressure would rise above the strength of the crust, and the planet would erupt, blasting jets of fur, gas, and partially decomposed mole into space. These violent geysers would continue until the planet cooled, hardened, and froze solid. And that doesn't sound like a very pleasant place to visit. So let's blow our mole budget a bit. Let's say instead of 1 mole of moles, we brought 6 moles of moles. After all, that's not twice as many. It's infinity mole. Our massive mole planet would be twice as big, but now it would have Pluto-like gravity. Those outer layers of fur would keep the interior warm for millennia, but the intense pressure at the core would prevent any meaningful chemistry from occurring. So our grand plan of having a mole of moles build a nice cozy home in space would ultimately fail. Sure, we might get some fun exploding geysers out of the deal, but that's about it. The truth is, you probably shouldn't bring a mole of anything anywhere. Leave that to Mother Nature. Over billions of years, life on Earth has multiplied and diversified. Mice, moles, beagles, humans. All told, there are probably at least a few dozen moles of rodents alive on Earth today. Who knows? Maybe they re-smart enough to realize how close they are to becoming a disgusting space planet and are taking steps to stop it from happening. Or maybe we should count to infinity, starting with 1 mole. Do you want to know what 6 moles of bees would do to the Earth? 1 mole of unicorns? Drop your ideas in the comments, and we'll get to work.